having us here this evening. We're here to discuss a proposed project at the property at 13-17 Bethlehem Pike. This is a landlocked parcel behind the roadway in that fronts on Route 309 and adjacent to a residential development on Jonathan Drive. It does have access out to Stump Road via an easement. This parcel is zoned LI, limited industrial, and has remained vacant for many years. Westrum Development is proposing to develop this property for a lifestyle apartment building. However, this type of use is not contemplated under the zoning ordinance. What we are proposing is a text amendment that would create a new use and allow it in the limited industrial district by conditional use approval. We are here this evening to introduce the project to you, discuss the proposed text amendment. We also did receive some review letters from the township consultants, which we're prepared to go through. And as you indicated, this is very preliminary stages. We aren't looking for any type of formal action this evening, but more so just to here this evening to get your feedback. So with that, I would like to introduce Mr. John Westrum. He's going to introduce the project to you and discuss in detail the improvements that are proposed for this project.
Thank you, Carrie. Can you hear me on this, or is this not? It is okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much for having us today, and thank you for having it in person. It's much better to do this in person than it is on a Zoom call. So welcome your feedback and look forward to a presentation. This project is today's objectives. Actually, we're going to talk a little bit about ourselves, why we chose this location. We actually had this property under agreement several years ago. The township was not inclined at that point to look at residential in this particular area. Times have changed. The site's still vacant. We'll talk a little about the current site conditions, introduce the concept that we have, and discuss some further steps. So a little bit about us is that we've been in business for 34 plus years, built over 5,000 units, have a great team, built over 100 projects. We've rezoned over 50, and we've won national, local, and regional awards. Our specialties are land acquisition, land use, both traditional and modular construction, and we think we have a very forward-thinking design and development process for our residential projects. We do some urban and suburban revitalization, mixed use, TOD, a lot of master plan, large-scale redevelopment, and we also do senior living facilities. This one's a little bit harder to see, but over the last 34 years, we've actually rezoned over 50 properties. In Montgomery County, actually did a couple in Montgomery Township, Philadelphia, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Mercer, and some other areas in the area. Over about 7,000 units that we've rezoned. Local experiences is that we built years ago Meadow Lane Farms in this township, Pebble Ridge Farms in Tomenson, Cambridge Knoll, which was both in Montgomery Township and Lansdale Borough. That was the former portion of Lansdale Catholic. Tall Pines, Charter Oaks, Kingswood, Arbor Square, and Harleysville, Luxor. Lansdale is supposed to start in spring of 2021. So we think it's a great place to live and work, and we love the fact that we have all of these great amenities up and down 309 being accessed. We have great retail facilities. We've got trails. We have the movie theater, Home Depot, all the shopping that goes on, and a lot of employment hubs pretty much adjacent to the property. This type of property is close to employment. It has great recreation, and we call it an urban lifestyle with suburban taxes and suburban area. From a use standpoint, coming from the larger scale down in is, again, we have industrial surrounding it, the hotel, we've got retail, industrial, and also residential. So it's kind of, a hole in the donut between various different uses. The current condition of this property is it's a 10-acre former swim club that's been vacant since probably, I think, the early 90s or late 80s. It's very much overgrown, and its permitted uses are all LI, which is outlined, all through here. I believe that you are familiar with those uses, but what is not permitted is residential multifamily, which is why we're here to request or to kind of talk about a proposed text amendment. So far to date, in the last 20 years since it has not been occupied, or 30 years really, there really has been great economic attraction to Montgomery Township or anybody, because it's just been sitting there vacant. From a standpoint of what we propose, this is our Luxor lifestyle apartment product. It's a branded lifestyle community. We built them in Norristown, it's Ballackinwood, right off of City Ave. If you guys take this Route 76 down to the city, you'll see it right up on the right-hand side as you get to City Avenue. If you go down to Westchester, we have a project almost completed there also that is on 202 in Matlack, and we just started a project in Phoenixville. What makes this community so great and this product so great is that it's a self-contained, highly amenitized, technologically advanced, and socially integrated community. We have a full-time lifestyle coordinator. I use this line, our people all here heard it, but it's basically you have the Julie McCoy of the Love Boat who knows everybody and handles everybody and goes through on a daily basis and really wants to make sure that everybody's happy. It's a little bit harder in COVID, but you know, she's still doing everything virtually, and we've learned a lot. Our biggest thing we've been doing recently is the mixologies, where we're doing virtual mixologies, bringing a bartender on a Zoom call and sending things out to people and having them be able to create their own drinks. Anyway, proven and reproducible brand, as I said, Norristown, Ballackinwood, Westchester, and Phoenixville. We do have an approved project in Lansdale Borough, which we plan on starting in the next 45 days. And then we have pending approvals in Malvern and Media, and we're hoping in Montgomeryville. This is something that it's easy to show. We'd be happy to take anyone who would be interested to go see the product, to see what it does. Again, it's a little bit hard in COVID because all of the amenity spaces are not open because of regulations at this point. In terms of what it is, it's a $35 to $40 million investment in the area. It repurposes the underdeveloped properties. As we said, we like to be near employment, social centers, reuse existing infrastructure. We know it provides positive economic impact. We have all the data for that. It's much less traffic than commercial uses, and it targets a pent-up demand for luxury living, and it provides affordable, attainable monthly rent. These photos are of the amenity spaces. Again, in COVID, it's a little bit tough because we can't use them all, but these are all actual photos. These are not renderings or anything else. This is from our Norristown site. Biggest thing is that technologically advanced, no one can get into the property unless they have access by a fob. It takes pictures of you coming in, so we know everything that's going on, and everything is surrounding the kind of lobby area. So we have a BYOB bar with a big giant 4 60-inch TV screens put together to make it gigantic. And again, this is BYOB. This is not something that has full-time service. We have the gaming area and the shuffleboard areas that are hanging out. We call them Engage. We have the Mingle, which is our cyber lounge. I don't know if I have a picture of our coffee center, but we have Pour. Our Play is our outdoor courtyard where we have grilling areas, bocce courts, fire pits, etc. Our Sway lounge is in the back. We have a big giant fitness center called Invigorate. Delivers are where our mail packages are all delivered. Our yoga studio, not shown on this picture. Immerse, which is our pool. Communicate, which is where our business center is, and our underpark, where we have basically about half of the projects, the residents park underneath and half outside. So it's basically, and we look for properties that are similar to this one where it's kind of like a walkout basement condition. So if you think about how a walkout basement looks, we basically put a parking area underneath the building. It's not as if we're stacking it up higher. So it's on a podium, but on the one side you pretty much see it's ground level. On the other side, where it drops off towards the stream in this particular project, that's where we're able to bring what we call the underpark in. And then we have our WAG dog park, which is a big hit because 2/3 of our residents all have pets. The way the building lays out is that everyone has to go through the lobby. This is for the socialization. Again, a little bit difficult in COVID, but that's what happens. Our Mingle area, which I showed photos of, is in the front area. Our Invigorate, which is our gym, our beverage station, our yoga studio, the gaming area, the model unit, where the whole center is the Imbibe area, bathrooms, and then our leasing area. So it's all in one compact area that every resident, whether they walk through the front door or they come up the elevator from the underpark, all have to go through this one particular area. From an element of what type of units we would do here, and they're very small. The focus is really more to get more into a social environment, again, post-COVID, but this project would not be hopefully we don't have another pandemic, but it would be built much after the pandemic is resolved. So modern kitchen, these are actual live photos, again, of the community. So if you're in the middle here, you can see what the area looks like. You have your modern kitchen. You have your dining area, which is right there. You have the lounge back in the back. We don't put balconies on because we don't like to have them be where people can hang out and put different stuff and do different things. We have abundance of light, which you can see both here in the common area as well as in the bedroom. This is the same unit where the common area is here, and then there's a wall, and then the bedroom is over there. Washer, dryer in every unit, large walk-in closets, modern bathrooms, and then a flex space. This flex space has been one of our biggest sellers during COVID because people are working at home. It allows them to have a spot that they can do their work from. What's the advantages, or who is our market? Number one, it's millennials. That's who we basically rent to. Their sinks and their dinks and their dinkies. And we also do single person households of any age. We do have not a lot, we have several seniors. And then we do have indecisive home buyers who may be in between someplace that they might be moving to or moving from, or they don't know where they want to go. So the whole target market demand is people want this urban boutique experience in a suburban location, but they want close proximity to transportation, employment, and entertainment. And then they want it to be affordable, they want to be able to travel, social integration, and they actually love to show this type of product off to their friends and families. There's a limited long-term financial commitment for them, but they want to make sure that it's convenient and safe. So in terms of who our target market is, and the product is identified to this particular target market, of which there are 79 million in the country. And we have, out of the whole project, there's 88% of it, 88% of them are, 77% are, 88%, which is 65 and 25, are one-bedroom or studios. There's 12% are two-bedroom units. So it's designed for a smaller unit. You can see the size is about 575 square feet, up to about 1,000, but predominantly this one-bedroom, which is 65% of them, is average is about 680 square feet. In terms of what the product looks like on the site, it actually meets or exceeds and when I say exceeds, it is better than the particular Balkan area regulations that are in the current LI district. So from a land area standpoint, this site is over 10 acres. Building coverage, which has it really should be a maximum of 40%, but this is only proposed to cover 12.5%. Green space, which is supposed to be a minimum of 35%, we actually have 60% open space. From a setback standpoint, we're proposing to be 185 feet versus 100 requirement from a front yard, side yard 272 versus 100, and 110 proposed in a rear yard versus 50. And our minimum yard abutting streets or residential, we're almost 200 feet versus the 100 feet that is required or permitted in the ordinance. So the access would be via Stump Road, coming in off of Stump Road. This is kind of the back entrance to the retail properties on 309, as well as the back side of the hotel. This property was subdivided off from the hotel, I don't know, in the 90s at some point, and retained for future use. The hotel property shown, access, this is emergency access to 309. There's an easement that's been recorded that will allow emergency vehicles to access off of 309 because we didn't want to have one entrance solo. Our open space and our stormwater management both would be surface and subsurface, and we'd have to comply with all regulations to make sure we were environmentally sound. We'll show you where the Little Chamonix Creek is, and then the open space buffering, which would be significant we'll show you a little bit more about that, between our corner and the current residential behind it. And as we said, there's like 275 feet between the edge of our building and the edge of the residential home surrounding it. From a standpoint, this is tough to read. All I can tell you is that we comply on all of the Balkan area requirements of the LI district, we just do not comply in terms of the use. The use is not permitted right now, and we're proposing a text amendment that would allow that. From a sketch plan standpoint, we showed you that the vehicular entrance from Stump Road comes in that way. That's what you would be looking at. That's an older design. We'll show you what the new design looks like, different colors. Our main resident entrance. This is actually a real drone shot from the middle, looking straight down into the courtyard. We have our under park access would be, as we said, kind of in that walkout basement condition towards the back in the Chamonix Creek. We have extra parking back there, and then our pool enclosure. Again, these are all real shots. I mean, they're not just photographs of something or renderings. And then our dog park would be right next to the property. So we kind of enclosing everything in one spot to make it easier, and then we also have a resident and guest surface parking. From a standpoint of what the lifestyle apartment wants and what our target market wants is proximity to how are they going to access trails, et cetera. So right now there's a full length of sidewalk all the way down Stump Road that goes to Westrum Road, basically right here. They could either cut across and sneak over. There is more of a circuitous route if they had to go back through from Knapp Road. This is not right now a legitimate crossing. There's a big sign up there that says no pedestrian crossing 309. But that we could also modify that if we had to assisting it to the other side. This is the rendering of what the building would look like. It's very similar to what we're building, the color scheme in both Westchester, Phoenixville, and in Ballackinwood right now. From a standpoint of, we wanted to make sure that the most concern would be from the residential neighborhoods around it, and wanted to give some perspective of where things would look like. So we did have our architects do some renderings. Basically, we can show that the furthest closest point to the building to the closest point of any of the residential area is 299.5 feet. So as I correlate it, it's a football field. It's 300 feet, it's a football field. And it's pretty far away. And this is all significantly wooded, which you can see right here. So from point number 1 on the street, looking through these 2 homes, that's what the building would look like behind it. Now this is dead of winter. It might be a little bit shaded, not as darkly designed as it might look in real life, but it's hard to put it in as a rendering, so to speak. So, going back on that, this is before or existing. This would be after, and again, that's with no foliage on any trees. Another look from point number 2. This is again on the main road. Looking through between these two residential units, there's the building behind through all of those trees right there. And then thirdly is we took it off of the cul-de-sac, and that's 369 feet from the back edge of the house. It's more like 460 from here. The building pops up a little higher because this is a lower elevation than where it would be from the other locations that I showed you. And then lastly, from the edge of our property, point number 4 here, through the trees, et cetera. And again, remember I told you it kind of drops off, so you can see the building through that, but it's very dense foliage, and our plan would be to keep all that existing vegetation right there and not disturb it, because there's no reason to. So from a standpoint of who is the target market, we talked about why here. This is the demographics in a 3-mile radius. We've got 61,000 people proposed by 2024. 28.5 are what we call the millennial never married group, and great average household income, lots of employees and lots of business, which is what we look for. We talk about the fact that our smaller units equals smaller households, equals fewer school-age children. We have stats of what we've averaged in the past. We actually have 1.4 occupants per unit, and in our other property, we had on average 3 school-age children out of 195 units on average. So sometimes it might have been 5, sometimes it might have been 2 or 1, but predominantly those are divorced families that they're already in that existing district, so that they are just going from the father or the mother, whoever the kids might have for that particular day. but very few people. And then the other aspect that's very positive for the municipality and the school district and the county is that the taxes are currently at $9,000 on the property, of which the township only gets $436. If we were to build this, we estimate that our annual real estate tax revenue that does not include any other EITs or any other aspect would be 47 times what it is currently, and would add an additional $431,000 to the town, the district, the county, et cetera. So a pretty significant increase with limited amount of services, because this property has, we handle all the snow, we handle all the trash, we handle pretty much everything that has to be done around the property. There's no dedicated streets, there's nothing like that. We pretty much handle everything. So, the other part that is always a problem or a concern is traffic. Under the existing zoning right now, we use an office lab as a permitted use, and based on 175,000 square feet assumption, that generated 194 peak PM trips and 191 peak AM trips. With our millennial-based product, and this is all based upon what Heinrich and Klein did for us, is it's 101 peak PM trips and 80 peak AM trips from a trip generation standpoint. So it's significantly less. It's pretty much half of what it could be from another use. From a standpoint of traffic, you can see that this is the plan laid in, and this is the access point, and people coming across from Stump Road this way. The concern originally was when we kind of met with staff is how would people come in, make a left through here, because sometimes this backs up. Well, they can actually go across, make a left onto 309 and make a right into the jug handle, and then get into our site right that way. So you eliminate the need to actually come across. When you cross over 309, you can actually make a left and then a right and come right through. Or coming this way, you can come into that way, into Stump, into the access app road, or when you're coming out, you can make a left or a right there. We know that there would be some minor improvements to Stump Road that might have to be accel, decel lanes put in at that location. So again, there's Stump, there's 309 off-ramp, not really off-ramp, but the jug handle. From a fire safety plan, we met with the fire chief, and we've looked at what needs to be done here. And basically, because of the height of the building and how it's located with the drop-off, et cetera, they wanted to make sure that there was an emergency staging area that could be accessed off of this particular point, whether or not the fire truck would come in, go around and come through here, or whether or not it would come directly in off of 309 to a point right there and access the back of the building. The rest of the building is all accessible by parking lot. I've said about the emergency access lane. So in summary, this is a project that we feel very confident that can be built, it can be occupied. We have extensive experience in doing this. We feel it's the best use for it. As we said, it would be a known conclusion to a property that sat there for decades unbuilt, and something could be built there or something will be built there. We think it's a known conclusion to that type of property. Big investment, influx of new consumers to the local economy. I know that the retail would love to see more people there to be able to shop. Minimal impact on schools, substantial increase in tax ratables, and that does not include the earned income EIT that I mentioned before. Less traffic than current uses, and millennial renters may be tomorrow's homeowners for Montgomery Township. So in terms of what we'd like is just to show you to jump on the bandwagon, as we call it, to join us with all these different properties in various areas that we are. And we'd like to talk about some next steps and answer questions and review the staff review letters and just hear your comments and feedback. So thank you.
Okay. Let's start with questions. Do you have any questions or comments? Questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you guys want to go?
Yeah, I can
Do you plan on doing any coordination with public transit to maybe have a bus stop at the apartment facility to maybe mitigate some traffic coming in and out via cars?
That's a really good question, and I have to admit that's something we did not look at, but we will look at that. Because I don't know where the bus stops are currently, so I can't really answer. If we're on the route, we would love to have a bus stop available, but I just don't know what the routes are, so you stumped me on that one.
Okay.
Do you guys know? Is that the closest stop, is Montgomery Mall?
Okay.
So I don't have an answer for that. I would defer to investigate, whether that was feasible or not.
Okay. And I also see there's a proposed loading area. Do you find that you also need other accommodations since you do market to millennials for a specific parking spaces for ride sharing or food drop-offs?
So the way that the buildings are always designed is that we never want to have parking immediately against the building. So Uber pickups and ride sharing and things like that come in and they pick up right here because everyone sits in the lobby and can go right out. In our package room, we actually supply a giant refrigerator freezer unit, sliding door that if somebody has packages that need a food deliveries from, Wegmans or whoever it may be that will drop off food, that it can be placed in a refrigerator area until someone gets back. But from a general food standpoint, like Uber Eats or something, they would come and we have visitor parking spots located right here near the handicap area, and then they just go in, and through the butterfly system, the electronic system, they can either call directly through that or they call from their cell phone, and the resident comes down and meets them at the lobby.
Great. Thank you.
So
Sure.
if you're targeting millennials for this project, a lot of millennials these days are more. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
So you're targeting a lot of the millennials, and millennials these days are more climate sensitive, and a lot of them may end up purchasing electric cars and whatnot. Do you have plans to install charging stations for electric cars?
Yes, we do.
As this site has been looked at over the years, there's always been talk about having access onto 309 and trying to get the roads to line up. I think it's Witchwood, is that the main access?
Nap Road.
Any thoughts or any plans to try to link up to Nap Road?
So the issue with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, is I believe that Nap basically almost meets where the Neshaminy Creek comes in. I don't know why, but it does. So I don't necessarily, and we don't have access out. We have an access easement out there for emergency standpoint, but we do not contemplate this as a main thoroughfare. So I don't necessarily know that it could match up even if this whole property was redeveloped. I think there would still be some type of an offset.
Okay. Because one of the concerns is making a left onto Stump Road from that, we'll call it, your main drive or your access. Right now it's an access road, but making that left onto Stump.
It is if the project has a kind of an issue that we would like to correct, that is really the issue. I mean, we like the fact that we can come in this way. We love the fact that if you're coming up 309 north, you can actually make a right onto the jug handle and then make a left into the site, so you're not going on here. But coming out is where there could be, that's why we're proposing to do an accel-decel lane.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. You had mentioned at the beginning that you do traditional and modular construction. Which is this?
Traditional.
Okay. And then I see in there that there's 1.5 parking spaces per unit overall. How's the parking, is the parking assigned outside or in the garage, or is it first come, first serve?
It is assigned in the underground parking. It is a resident badge has to be on things for the outside. So if we basically charge extra for the underground parking because it's secure, it's underground, uncover, et cetera. So that person everyone's numbered and they're assigned. In the outside area, we have numbers, but we don't assign them to a particular unit. But everybody a resident has to have a sticker, because the only place that unstickered people can be is in the visitor parking area.
Okay. And then your assumption around the traffic, I mean, that's certainly my biggest concern overall with the presentation. You know, you're assuming significantly less than 50% of the people are going to be commuting during normal times. Again, I just kind of question where that assumption's coming from. I think you had 100 out of 237 and then 80 out of 237.
So
seems pretty light.
So those are peak hour, PM and AM peak hour trips.
Yep.
So you've got, if there are 250 total number of people in there, there's 100 per hour. So you're talking about, between on your AM, and Andy, I'll defer to you. How do you want to?
Yeah, you're on the right track there. Where there's 2.5 hours of peak period. These numbers are for the peak 60-minute period. For example, peak hour in the afternoon is 4:30 to 5:30. Between 5:30 and 6:30, instead of 100 cars coming in and out, there may be 75, 80 cars. And the hour preceding the peak hour may have another 75, 80 cars. When you add that up, it's less, get a lot closer to that 237 trip per unit.
Okay, thanks. That's it for now.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Staying on this, was this study done pre-COVID or during COVID? Is there going to expected to be any additional impact once the pandemic would end?
Well, what we did is we obtained the traffic counts that we used for the higher rock development pre-COVID, wildlife and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Took those traffic counts. We added the higher rock development traffic in those mostly completed, and then we backed it up using PennDOT factors from the website and added our traffic on top of that. We did not use traffic counts either during or since we didn't get that COVID.
I know you went through this before in the unit mix. Would you give me an idea on what the total number of units are expected in the building?
237.
So there's 237 total.
Yes.
And then you mentioned about talking to the fire. I assume the building is all wood and it will be sprinklered?
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's actually a steel podium with concrete, and then it's 4 stories of wood over top of it.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. How many over the podium?
Right. Okay. And again, the podium is at ground level. Let's go back to one of the other. At ground level in this area, and everything drops. I mean, it drops. This is kind of the ground level. It drops a little bit this way because we're going towards the creek, and it drops significantly more that way because you can see this is your stream beds going around. So, out of a 10-acre site, we're really only using about 4.5 acres.
And in what area was the subterranean parking?
Right here.
Okay.
That's where your entrance is. So,
Got it.
so people would come in this way, they go around, and they go right in that way.
Got it. Any more questions?
Okay, I have a couple of questions, and then we're going to open it for public comment. 2 things I'm concerned about. One is traffic. Were those figures that you had for the traffic usage, were they actual, was a study done was it from an actual study or were they estimates?
We'll let Andy answer that.
And we need you to come up and, to the podium and use the microphone. Right up here. Yep.
Just so everyone knows, this is Mr. Andy Heinrich. He's our traffic consultant who performed this study.
Yes, could you clarify your question? I'm not
Are the
sure I
figures that
understand.
you used for the building use as, what was it,
Multifamily.
the permitted use? What did you use?
The office?
You're talking about the trip generation, though?
Yeah, are those actual figures, office lab, are those figures that were, those are hypothetical, but the ones below it, the 237 unit Luxor, where are those figures from?
All the numbers of peak hour trips are calculated from trip rates from the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual.
But they weren't local traffic studies.
Not the
They're-
trip generation. The standard procedure is to use the ITE trip rates for estimating traffic for the vast majority of land uses.
Now, Stump Road, when someone would be exiting the apartment building, they make a right turn onto Stump Road. Stump Road is pretty busy in the morning with commuter traffic. Is that going to pose any problem exiting from this apartment building?
It's going to be stop sign controlled as it is today, and with increased traffic, it'll take a little longer to get in and out. But based on our studies, it is an acceptable level of service.
It's a feasible.
Acceptable delay for the traffic. We think most of the traffic will probably head to 309 in the morning peak hour at least. But yes.
Well, there's a lot of traffic between Horsham Road and 309 traveling from Horsham Road to 309 on Stump Road. So it's very heavily traveled in the morning.
Yes.
It's not most of the traffic's on 309. There's a lot on Stump Road.
Yes, based on the counts that we've seen, you're talking thousands of cars an hour on 309, you're talking hundreds of cars an hour on Stump Road.
Right, and that's the reason why we feel that we need an accel and decel lane, so that there would be the ability to not be, making a 90 in or a 90 out. So there would be the ability for, feathering the traffic in onto Stump Road.
And just to be clear, it is not an accel decel lane, it's a left turn lane, to turn left into the driveway.
Okay.
Not acceleration, deceleration.
Okay, well, that's okay, sorry.
All right, my other question deals with the stream and the location of the building next to the stream. Thank you, Andy. What kind of studies have you done with regard to the stream and the impact of potential flooding on the building and the parking garage?
Extensive. We've identified all the wetlands that are there, all the stream corridors, everything from an engineering standpoint. If you want to answer that, we can talk about our stormwater management.
Good evening. I'm Anthony Caponigro, Site Civil for the project. If you can look on that screen, you see the pattern stream kind of in the middle there. Yeah, use that one for example, John. That's the stream in the middle. On the edges, we have an offset line that runs around and kind of bubbles that stream, John. Just kind of go to the top line.
Yep.
Top.
You're talking
Yeah,
about- right.
that's the floodplain limit associated with the stream. So this plan represents the limit of the floodplain and the location of the stream that was delineated in the field by an environmental engineer. And that stream there has been delineated and flagged, and we're close to even getting a jurisdictional determination letter from the state confirming the limits of the streams that are shown. There was some minimal wetland areas identified, mostly close to the streams, and we're also avoiding those as well with our development. So the limits of our development, when we have done some conceptual grading and topography plans in-house, you can see the limits of our development represents where those graded limits are in kind of the more brighter colors, and they are just on the edge or outside the limits of those environmental areas.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody here from the public who would like to come up and ask any questions or make any comments? If you do, please go to the podium, state your name and your address, and then your question, but you need to use the mic.
And Jay, before they do, I have one just clarifying
Sure.
question based on kind of the back and forth. So there's not an acceleration, deceleration lanes planned?
No,
I'm sorry.
some widening for a left turn going
Left,
South Road.
coming from 309, heading towards
Yes, if you
Horsham,
go 309,
left turn
going
lane.
Left into the jump there, there'll be some widening for a left turn.
Okay.
Turn left into your driveway into the apartment building.
Okay. Thanks.
Hi, thank you for inviting us here tonight. My name is John Forte, 159 Jonathan Drive. I think my house was one of the pictures you showed there. Two quick questions. Will this affect property taxes in any way? And the second question is, I had a friend who lived in Delaware who went through something like this, not your company, a different company. And I was talking to him earlier today, and he said, oh, mention this. With the wetlands, that's been there for many, many years, a lot of wildlife, rodents. During the construction process, if they start running away towards our houses, is there anything that you can do about that, or do you think about that? For infestations, a lot of field mice, things like that.
The latter, the second question is one that I've never had before, so thank you. But I don't. We can certainly look at that, and we would investigate that situation. I don't have an answer for you tonight. Your first question was about. I'm sorry.
Property
Oh,
taxes?
Taxes. From a standpoint of taxes, I mean that's controlled through the county and the municipality. Our proposal does not show that we have more school children than, the revenues exceed the expenses in every aspect, and it's significantly more than what is currently being paid. So it is, in all the municipalities that we've been in, they have agreed with our calculations about, what the cost benefit being more of a benefit than it was cost. So I can't tell you that your taxes are never going to go up, because my experience in the world of the United States is the taxes keep going up. But I could say that this particular project will not be a catalyst to have those taxes go up. They should be a catalyst for reduction of taxation or increase in revenues.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, is there anyone else?
Thanks, Township, for inviting us. I live on Jonathan Ray. I'm from 151. Of late, I don't know, before coming to this point, there are a lot of noise going on. Right now, industrial work is going on Carter Center or something, which has been, new construction is going on. I don't know what exactly is going on. But we never got any letters or anything. But the construction is on, and I work mostly from home. There's a lot of noise. Morning 7:30, we see vibrations. I can see the vibration in my house. It's very, very tough. Another thing, coming to this development, and I have been here 2 years back. I don't know the company who came up with this proposal, but I've been here in this community for almost 7 years. And whenever you're talking about the numbers, taking a left turn or right turn on the stump road, it's very, very heavy, Even at the normal time, in order to take a turn right, you have to wait, literally have to wait like 3-4 minutes. And the peak time, every month, you have like a couple of accidents on that intersection. Every month I have accidents. I can get you the figures. You can get the figures from the township. If the police, I think, should have that. And I fear that, there would be a lot of disturbance. The reason I bought the house here because it is secluded. That is the reason I bought this property, or I moved into this location. I know this property may be used for industrial, maybe I thought trucking, that's fine, but I don't know about residential. I have some reservations, and unfortunately, as the COVID situation, most of our community people didn't show up. Thank you for giving the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Nope.
I have some questions emailed.
Go ahead, Bruce.
The first question is the access road, who will be responsible for maintenance in the future?
We would be responsible for maintenance. I'm sorry, the owner, the building and ownership would be responsible for the maintenance. Up until where PennDOT takes over.
This would be outside the PennDOT right away.
Correct.
I'll do the second one because the other two are statements. Okay, I'm a resident of the Orchards neighborhood. I live on Windsor Circle cul-de-sac, which backs up to the site of the proposed development. For the commission's and the developer's consideration, I submit the questions and concerns. What benefit is construed to be provided to the current residents of the nearby housing developments? Why should your proposed neighbors be happy about this? Is there any concern for that?
The only thing that I can answer on that is that this building is, I believe, and is smaller than what would be permitted under industrial use. It has bigger buffers from the actual building than would be probably on a industrial use. And we've tried to keep it as far away from the residential as possible, as well as putting the parking areas closer to the residential versus the building closer to the residential. And the benefits is that it's not an industrial building.
Second question, are there any implications, positive or negative, to the neighboring developments? Any tax implications?
From a tax implication, it's similar to the answer that I had previously, is that the services, it's kind of a rateable, so to speak. I mean, it really doesn't have school-age children. All the maintenance and all the operations are all handled privately and without municipal services.
What is expected impact to utilities for neighboring developments or structure? Has this been studied? I'm concerned about our water, electric, and/or internet availability will be negatively impacted.
From the internet standpoint, you got to talk to Comcast because I don't really know. I'm being facetious. I apologize, but I don't control that. From the electric, it is we have to go through all the regulations in order to get adequate water, adequate sewer, adequate electricity, etc. All of which, if there is a problem, that would be from those particular agencies.
What is expected impact from an environmental standpoint, i.e. groundwater, drainage, runoff?
Well, the good part about this is that the groundwater just flows right now off of it. When we would develop this, it would have to be all in a controlled environment. So, as I said, there will be both surface and subsurface detention basins on the property, and they would have calculated stormwater management calcs that would the post-development would have to be better than the pre-development, more stringent, so to speak. So it should actually provide for less stormwater runoff than the existing conditions.
What is the expectation for how noise and light pollution will be affecting our neighbors? We currently have natural foliage,
buffer that help to reduce the incidence of noise and visual stimuluses from the busy 309 highway.
So our focus is to try to preserve as much of the existing buffer as possible, which I think we've done the way we've positioned this property. And again, from a standpoint of light, and let's go light first, those are all, go through all of the consultants of the township, and we'd have to comply with township regulations on light pollution and lumens and et cetera. From a standpoint of noise, number one is that it's self-contained, and the only areas that are really outside that would be where people would be gathering to have any type of noise would be in the open air courtyard, which is surrounded by the building itself. In this particular aspect, you can see it's 4 stories. That's the open courtyard area. And then secondly, all of our activities are on the opposite side, so the building should actually act as a buffer for noise, and the building actually would act as a buffer for sound from 309 as well.
Local traffic is a big concern. Slide 26. Now, slide 26 is what we put up on our website. I don't know if it's changed.
Right, it might be different.
It did change.
It did change. It got in, the other parts got in there. I don't know if this is probably the one.
The Westrum presentation states that the apartment complex would produce less traffic than other permitted uses, such as industrial warehouse or office building. Sources are cited to substantiate this claim, so let's assume that the data is correct. However, any increase in traffic for the westbound side of Stump Road to 309 is concerning. During morning and evening commutes, in the weekdays, and all throughout the midday of the weekends, the traffic light heavily backs up. Recent traffic patterns changed, have not seemed to help us, and very frequently our local drivers do not trip the underground sensors. And you can find for yourself waiting 5 minutes even during non-peak hours. If Stump Road is the only way in and out of this proposed apartment complex, it seems to me that we should expect the traffic at this light to increase significantly as the residents commute and recreate. What studies have been performed? I'm sorry, this is another question. So they're more or less saying, how is this going to help the situation?
We're clearly not going to help the situation, but we feel that this use is less than what could be, less than permitted use currently. Or at least our data includes that. And we also will, and we're gonna huddle a little bit afterwards to talk more about the questions and the concerns that were asked tonight. And thank you very much for addressing them. On what type of modifications we could do there to alleviate any type of traffic.
And the last question, what studies have been performed concerning the impact of local wildlife and how those animals will be forced to disperse into the nearby locations?
There's been no study on that. Again, unfortunately, we live in a world where properties can be built, and whether it's this project or an industrial project or something built there, I think that concern would be, or the same approach would occur. The only thing I could say is that, again, we're really a 10-acre site, and we're only really impacting about 4 acres of the site.
Resident on Jonathan Drive, I oppose this request for rezoning amendment. The last thing that we need is more traffic in an already congested area. We do not need the noise, and this will decrease the property value. We have opposed this request previously and continue to oppose this request. Due to COVID and the limited number of people allowed to be present during the hearing, I wanted to voice my concern, my opposition to request acknowledgement. Please deny this request. And then I have another resident, identify, Jonathan Drive. The parcel in question has environmentally sensitive areas. There is a huge wooded area, and unmapped tributary. The map shows in the letter, does not show, this is what we put in the letter from the township that went out, which was just a quick overview of the property. Does not show the tributaries. Many houses in the Orchards developments are already facing flooding issues due to the number of new developments in the upstream areas of the township. Are you planning to authorize destruction of more wooded previous areas in the name of development and overburden the small tributaries? If a big housing development is allowed on this parcel, it will have a significant environmental impact in the Orchards development. The township already has a significant amount of land dedicated to residential development. Why does the Planning Commission need to allow conditional use in an existing LI parcel and to contribute to the environmental degradation and suffering to the existing residential communities? That's all that we received by email. Thank you.
I've always tried to be very practical in looking at projects that come before the Planning Commission. I've been doing this for quite a few years. There's always opposition to a project like this, but it appears to me that this is a well thought out and well planned project. As you pointed out, the property is currently zoned for industrial use. If the property were developed, and properties are going to be developed, there would be a lot more of the acreage used for an industrial use. We would have heavy traffic from tractor trailers, both coming in and going out. That property, let's be realistic, it's going to be developed sometime. It's been not used for many years, but it's sitting there waiting for something to come along. And it seems to me that this project appears to be more beneficial of a use than an industrial use. It's going to create a tremendous amount of revenue for the township and taxes. If your figures are correct on the traffic studies, it's going to decrease the amount of traffic that we would have relative to an industrial use. It's a very attractive building. It's going to bring in residents of a pretty substantial financial level. The apartments are not cheap. I think that it looks like a good project. I'm not happy that there's going to be more traffic on Stump Road, but we're going to have that no matter what the use is. I think it's something that's going to happen, and I much rather see a project like this than have some big industrial warehouse put in and have that type of traffic. It's not going to increase the revenues as much as something like this would to the township taxes. So I think it looks like a good use. That's my thoughts about it. We're not going to stop development. It's going to be developed one of these days. I think that this is a better project than a lot of the ones that can come along. I don't think that it's going to have a heavy impact on the environment. Anything that goes in there is going to have some impact on it. I'm an outdoors person. I'm an animal person. I hate to see properties being developed and the animals being pushed out or pushed into a smaller area, but it happens. It's going to continue to happen. So I think that a lot of the complaints that have been made would apply to any type of development. And we can't just say, well, we're not going to develop property in our township anymore because we don't want any more development here. That's archaic. It's just not going to happen. So my thoughts are that it's a good project, and I'd like to see it tweaked a little here and there, but those are my thoughts. And that's my personal thought. I didn't take a poll of the other members of the Planning Commission, but they've asked questions and made comments. Those are my thoughts. I like it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I don't work for Westrum, by the way.
We haven't met. It's nice to meet you.
We did submit a copy of the proposed ordinance amendment. I don't know if you'd like, I'm happy to run through it, just to go through what we're proposing in terms of the ordinance amendment.
Well, I don't know that you really need to do that because,
I have a question about it, though.
oh, go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about the fee in lieu of recreation land and why you wouldn't just commit to recreation land? First question. And second, what would the fee be? I don't know the square footage, so wasn't able to do the math, but what is the fee that you would be paying in lieu of the recreational land?
Sure, so, I mean, John, I guess I'll turn it to you in terms of providing recreation land on this type of project. I know we have many facilities, within the building itself that are recreation, but typically, I mean, a development like this, we wouldn't be providing, baseball fields or things like that would be open to the public. I don't know if you want to touch on that anymore.
I mean, I don't know I don't really have an answer for what the fee would be and what it is. I think you.
Yeah, we do.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get my-
If you're going to have to be at the mic.
Michael Mayer with Westrum Development. We did look at that number, and we partnered with Bruce a little bit about trying to understand how this project would apply to that. And I think it's statutory. It's calculated based on square footage, correct?
Right.
So it's just an ordinance that we're following.
Right. the
Right,
question
I'm
is,
just
do we have
asking
a
what the
total
dollar, I
amount?
mean, it
If
gives you the
figure out
math
the
here.
square footage of the building.
50 cents per square foot for the first 10,000 square feet plus 25 cents per square foot over 10,000 square feet. So I don't know what the total square footage of the
Oh,
development
I
is.
see what you're saying.
So I'm
It was
looking
a-
for a dollar number.
Yeah, we have it.
I don't have it right now, but we can certainly provide it to you. I'd rather give you an accurate number than try to do it on the back of the calculator right now.
Okay.
So, but the reason is that most of the residential or the amenity space is private, because we don't want, non-residents there using the facilities, and most of it is all enclosed. So our proposal is to provide a fee in lieu, and that could be used anywhere in the township instead of just on this property.
I don't know that you need to go over the proposed amendment because we're just here tonight to give you our thoughts on the project. And any proposed text amendment would really go to council for the township. It really wouldn't be up to us to approve something like that. It may be presented to us later to recommend or not recommend. We'll take a look at it then, but I don't think you need to do that this evening. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? Anybody from the planning? Go ahead.
Hi, Judy Stern-Goldstein with Gilmore & Associates, planning consultant. One of the issues that I thought might be good for the planning commission to discuss would be the issue of trail connections. During discussions with the applicant, there have been very good discussions, I have to say. It's not acrimonious, it's not difficult. But one of the points of contention, I guess a small one, was that the township feels strongly, from a planning perspective, that it's important to connect this development to the existing trail system within the township. The township has been rather robust in planning for trails. We have the Parkway Trail, and this is very close to that. So the township is asking for the connection to the trail. And the applicant, from what I understand, was looking to get credit for that if they're also going to pay the fee in lieu of recreation. And from a planning perspective on behalf of the township, we're looking at them as two separate and distinct issues because the residents of this community will be active, they'll be leading active lives, and they will be participating in and using the recreational amenities, facilities, and programs provided in the township. So the fee in lieu of recreation does make sense, but connecting this community to the existing trail system is equally and separately important. So we just wanted to throw that out there to see where the planning commission weighs in, because this is something that is a major planning item. So I'll sit down and let you guys talk.
Point well taken, Judy. I'd like to make a comment with that regard. I'm also on the Open Space Committee and have been very involved in establishing a trail system through Montgomery Township. And I think that what Judy pointed out is very valid. I think that you should really make an effort to connect to the trail system, which is not too far from this property. I can't give you the exact location, but I mean, Judy, do you have any?
I have it right here.
You have it right there? Okay. We'd really like to see you make an effort to connect to the trail system. Maybe that ingress and egress,
We've analyzed it, and there's two ways to access the trail system. Number one is that Stump Road has a sidewalk all the way to the municipal building right here. The concern, and I kind of, it was a long presentation, so I apologize. And we can discuss this. The other access is really across from where we are, and we talked about going to Knapp Road. I don't remember who asked the question about connecting Knapp Road, but you could cross 309 where Knapp Road is by accident. Well, anyway, I'll show that to you in a minute. But this is Stump Road, and this is where the municipal building is right here. So then people could go down through here and go through and get to the trail that way. The other way is to go across 309 where the light is, so you'd have to walk through the easement that we have across the hotel parking lot. There is a light there, okay, but there is a big sign that says no pedestrian crossing right there. But if you were able to cross there, you could go along the Knapp Road sidewalk again and get to the trail. This is Knapp Road, goes right there. Yeah, right through here, and it goes through the shopping center, and that's another spot where the trail is. If we were to try to go up 309, you can't get there because the trail is on the other side of the bridge. You'd have to be under and over. So there's really you can never get access directly to the trail going this way. You follow what I'm saying? So we've looked at it, and our point is if someone gets to the trail, they got to go this way. Unfortunately, it's prettier to be on there, but they'd have to go up this way, that way, and then take the trail out. Or they would have to go over here, cross through, and get to the trail that way, and it only goes to a certain point at that point.
Once you get to the trail, once you get to Knapp Road and you get to the trail, the parkway, you can go either direction.
Correct. You could go. Correct.
And you can go very far in both directions. You can go all the way to my house, for instance, in Doylestown.
Right. If you get either way, you can go all the way that way. Okay. This way kind of ends right here.
Right, but connecting to the trail, you can go very far. In the other direction.
If you go this way and go that way, you can go for miles, all the way to Doylestown, pretty much. And if you go this way and over here, you can get this, you connect to the trail also.
Right.
Those are two access points. There's one, like I said, right up in here, and then the other one is up in there. But we can't get it. It would be economically infeasible to try to put a bridge across the Little Neshaminy going through this way. And you'd have to go, you really don't get anywhere because you can't get across 202 and you can't get across 309 at those locations.
You can, if you can get across the creek at the light at, I guess it's Costco Way? Is that, what's the name of Costco Drive? I was close. It's at grade there, and you can access the trail at that location.
We will, let's look at it.
Yeah, I just think that there's further,
We're
I
happy
think
to-
I think it deserves and merits further study because the township really has made quite an effort on the trails.
We're happy to look at it. My only concern is that to cross the Little Neshaminy Creek in some type of a bridge stream crossings are incredibly expensive, incredibly difficult to get, and I don't necessarily know that the benefit for the 200 residents or so. If there's a way to try to connect something and allow people to go out this way and then maybe back by where the case properties. I just didn't want to have people walking along 309. If they're around, we want them to either cross it quickly or not cross it at all.
Well, why don't you take a look at it with Judy? and see whether there is something that can be worked out.
Happy to evaluate.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else?
I have one other one. Damon Drummond, Gilmore Associates Traffic Engineer. Pedestrian access to Stump Road. Are you planning to put a pedestrian walkway or sidewalk to connect to Stump Road?
It's under evaluation right now in terms of the width that we have of the right-of-way.
Okay.
Okay. If there's nothing else, we appreciate your coming this evening and presenting this project to us, and we'll look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time
Thank you.
and your questions and your support. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.